only 15% of people are actually self-aware, and in this episode, I'm going to explain to you how you can change that. Self-awareness is that one competency that will help you be more productive, more satisfied, more effective, and more profitable in your business, in your life, or with your nonprofit. Now, how can it do all of that for you? It helps us increase our self-confidence because we know ourselves better. We understand ourselves better. We know who we are. It also helps us be more creative because, hey, we understand ourselves, we know what works for us, but we also have that self-confidence, and it frees us to let us do the things that we are passionate about, that pull us in that direction, that we know that if we do that one thing, that one idea that we have going on right now in our head, if we just launch out on it and do it because we're confident, because we know ourselves, we know what we should do, it helps us find that creativity that we need to accomplish the things we're trying to get done. It also helps us make better decisions. How can it do that? Because there again, if I know myself, I know my strengths, I know my weaknesses, I'm working with people that I'm getting feedback from, and it helps me find that confidence to make the hard decisions that I need to make, but also I know my weaknesses and know where I need to get help in certain decisions that I have to make as well. It also helps us have stronger relationships, better relationships with people, because there again, we know who we are. We know what drives us. We know what strengths we have. We also know what weaknesses we have. And we know what type of people that bring life to us. And we also know what type of people drag us down, beat us up, and we make sure we have good, strong relationships with those people that add value to our life, that give us great feedback to help us grow and develop and mature. And finally, self-awareness helps us be a more effective communicator. There again, we know where are we weak at in that area. How can we improve? If we're getting feedback from others as well, we're understanding what kind of information we need to get to them, because sometimes to be an effective communicator, we need to know what method others prefer. And if we're getting good feedback, we're becoming a better communicator. Research tells us that only 15% of us are truly self-aware. What does that mean? Why is that? Why don't we know ourselves better? Maybe for some of us, as we grow in our leadership, as we grow in our responsibility, as we see more success in our life, a lot of times we become less open to feedback that would help us become more self-aware. Because there's two things going on with self-awareness. There is our internal self-awareness, how we know and perceive ourselves, and if we've done a lot of work on ourselves, if we're trying to make ourselves better, if we've seen and do a regular SWOT analysis and look at, okay, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What am I really good at? What have I not done so well? What areas do I need to improve on? If I'm taking all that in, if I'm learning myself emotionally as well and how I respond to others and what type of people give me life and what kind of type of people just piss me off and I can't control my emotions around, if I know myself well enough and understand myself internally, then I've got to do the work on myself to get there. But to be able to do that work and understand ourselves, we've also got to have external self-awareness. And to have external self-awareness, we have to be willing to receive feedback. And that can come from all kinds of direction, all forms of feedback. It could be maybe if you're in a corporate world and your organization, or maybe you have someone do a 360 evaluation on yourself, or maybe you're not in a corporate world and you're an entrepreneur and maybe you're working with several other people around, and maybe what you need to do is just do your own 360 evaluation and get some feedback. See, if you use open and honest feedback with one another, people you're working with, and you create a methodology where it's safe to do that, well, then you as a leader, you need to be willing to receive that feedback and take it and do something about it. What kind of information are you getting that you're not being aware of? A lot of it comes down to just being humble. Are you humble enough to receive it? And if you're humble enough to receive it, are you humble enough to do something about it? Now, if you're taking that external feedback and that external message, that requires you to be empathetic. Empathetic to yourself and empathetic to those around you. Yes, you need to have self-empathy. If you can have self-empathy, then you can take constructive feedback from others. That internal self-awareness also helps us understand our core values and those things that are pulling us in a certain direction, and those things that drive us. Those passions that are being pulled in, those things that drive us to do the things that we feel called to do. That internal self-awareness helps us understand that a little bit better for ourselves, and then we put those passions and that drive in the right direction for ourselves, and it just benefits us in the long run. But at the same time, it gives us a better understanding about our emotional reactions to certain things. Those things that really piss us off, those things that really make us angry, or maybe it's the things that make us sad or depressed at times, and we understand that about ourselves, and we can mitigate that at times as well, or figure out what's going to push us through those moments. And at the same time, we get a better understanding of, okay, what is that best fit environment or context for us? So if you're pursuing that nonprofit dream for yourself, okay, then what kind of environment do you want to create? Because you know that if you create that environment for yourself and your organization, you're going to see success. But at the same time, you're pursuing a career and you want to be that entrepreneur inside of an organization somewhere. Well, what kind of context and environment is the best fit for you to be successful at what you want to do? Or maybe you're that entrepreneur out there and you're trying to create that business of your dream, and you know that what is that best fit context? What is that best fit environment for yourself? And at the end of the day, how are we influencing others? If we understand ourselves better, we can understand of how can we influence those around us. It doesn't matter if you're leading a nonprofit, or if you're leading your own business, or if you're leading in an organization somewhere. You need to understand how you influence other people. Now, for us to become more self-aware, we're going to have to ask more what questions of ourselves instead of why. You see, those what questions are going to help us self-discover things about ourselves that will open up a clearer understanding of why we do some of the things we do, why do we make some of the decisions that we make. But those what questions also give birth to more insight. They allow us to stay objective and focused, and help us be less self-defensive. Because when we become self-defensive, we block out the opportunities to take the feedback we're getting from others to bring about that change that needs to happen within us. You see, we all want to protect ourselves. We all want to see the best side of ourselves. We don't want to admit to some of our faults, some of our shortcomings. But for us to become more self-aware, we've got to be less self-defensive. And when we start asking why questions of ourselves, we even become defensive of ourselves to others as well. And so we've got to start asking those what questions. And we're going to dive into some what questions we can start asking ourselves. So there are several different what questions we can begin to ask ourselves, and we'll just kind of start with the first one I have here. The first one I written down was, what must you start doing to increase your influence? Think about that. What is it right now that if you started to do, you would start increasing the influence you have on those people around you? If you're trying to grow a brand image, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're a nonprofit leader and you're trying to grow your brand, well, what is it that you must start doing right now to increase your influence? There's some kind of impact that you can make on other people around you. And, it could be a variety of different things. It could be more social media, it could be more networking, it could be, I don't know, maybe you need to work on yourself in one area to increase your communication skills. I don't know what it is for you, but if you were to answer that question for yourself, what would it be? Second question you need to do is, what decisions do I need to make today that will help me get closer to my goal? Now, if things are really going well for you and you're seeing lots of results from what you're doing and you're seeing a lot of progress and momentum is just out of this world for you, then whatever's working right now, man, just keep going at it. I mean, don't stop. It's not a time to let off the gas. But let's just say maybe things aren't going very well for you right now. Maybe it's not quite to a dead stop, but maybe you're afraid it is and you're about to lose some of that momentum. Then go back and do some of those things that were working before. Maybe the decision you need to make today is just decide to do one thing, one simple, small thing that will help you get some momentum and keep that momentum going for yourself. Maybe right now you're faced with a financial decision you need to make. Maybe that decision is you need to decide to invest in yourself a little bit more, or maybe to, instead of going out and buying some nice shiny object, it's investing in your business in other ways. But that is a decision that you need to think through and make for yourself today. And what is that decision for yourself? What platform should you use more often to communicate your expertise more clearly? So many platforms out there. This is one of them. There's a lot of benefit from using YouTube. It's just so organic. It lives there for such a long time. It is a search engine. Those are several positives to it. But maybe you need to do something new and different. Maybe you need to add another platform. And really and truly, when it comes to that, there's all kinds of different trains of thought towards that. You will have some people to tell you focus on one, focus on two, maybe focus on three. Some people tell you to focus on all of them and create as much content as you can every day. Some tell you to create one or two good pieces of content, maybe three. But at the end of the day, what are you capable of doing? And there again, it goes back to your self-awareness. What is best for you in your situation where you're presently at right now, and maybe where you really want to be. If you know where you want to be 3, 4, 5 years down the road, and you've already figured out the next moves you want to make, well then, make those moves today. Make those moves with that platform we've been thinking about adding to your social media repertoire. Another one is, what assumptions or biases are you making that are holding you back? You're probably assuming you're working harder than you really are. And maybe you're not, but you need to go back and evaluate that. You need to measure that. You need to look at that. And maybe you're assuming you're working too hard. Maybe you're assuming you're not working enough. The only way you're going to know is if you create some kind of metrics, or you measure it, or you look at it and see. But we also have all kinds of unconscious biases about ourselves, about others, that we need to be more aware of, and we need to see how those things are holding us back as well. And that just takes some self-reflection that we need to do for ourselves. The last question I feel like would benefit you, that you need to ask to help you become more self-aware, is, what do I need to do differently to reduce stress and increase your happiness? Yeah, think about that for your life. Look at your life right now. Your life related to your business, your work, and your personal time. And what is it right now that you need to start doing differently to try to reduce that stress? Could be something simple as going to bed earlier, getting more sleep. Could be meditating more. Could be writing in your journal. I don't know. But maybe it's something you need to add. Maybe it's something you need to take away. But there's something right now that could be adding a lot of stress to you. And what can you do differently? Because if you take care of that stress, that happiness is going to increase. One of the best things to increase your happiness is just decide to be happy, and you will see the changes. So now that we've asked, and hopefully you've answered those what questions for yourself, I mentioned some things that you needed to start doing. I want to reiterate those things. There's 3 things I'd recommend that you start doing to help increase your self-awareness. First thing is, get your journal and start writing in it. You know, I started doing this several years ago at a recommendation of my pastor at the time, and it began to change my life. Changed my life in some drastic ways. Helped me become more aware of some things in my life that I need to get rid of. Some things in life that I needed to change. It wasn't easy. It wasn't pretty. But it was very helpful. And when I know that when I take that time to write in my journal, it helps me not only understand myself better, but also take into consideration how others might be perceiving me as well at whatever's going on in my life. But it could be simple. Set aside 10, 15 minutes. Maybe you need 30 minutes. I don't know. You can do it in the morning. You can do it in the middle of the day. You can do it at the end of the day. I don't really care when you do it. You need to find what works for you and start writing in your journal. The next thing you need to do is start asking for more feedback. Some of the people you're working with, some of the people that are working alongside of you, some of your closest friends, counterparts, whoever it may be. If you're that solopreneur out there, well, then maybe you've got a group of other entrepreneurs you're around that can help you, give you some feedback. Or maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a friend, I don't know. But whoever it might be, solicit that feedback and take it and begin to analyze for yourself. What from that feedback do you need to start working on for yourself? If you're a nonprofit leader and you need to be seeking that from your volunteers, you need to be seeking that from your support base as well, and getting their feedback on things to help you improve and grow and get better and become more self-aware at the same time. The final thing would be to practice mindfulness or do some meditation. Honestly, I think this goes hand in hand with the journal. If I'm piggybacking on it, I find that for myself, that writing in my journal, but also meditating and having a meditative practice to the writing really helps me. It helps me get in my own head and figure out some of the thoughts I'm dealing with, but it also helps me get into here and deal with my soul at the same time. And then when I feel like I've dealt with some of my emotions, some of my thinking, and my soul at the same time, I feel like I am more aware of myself and those people around me. And there again, that mindfulness could be simple breathing exercises you need to start doing for yourself. I remember one time I was working with a coach, and the first thing that she would do for every session would be doing some deep breathing exercises, and that would bring so much clarity, and it would make me more self-aware of where I'm at that day and what's going on, what my stress level was like, what my thinking was like at the same time. And it could be something as simple as that, 1 to 2 minutes. It might be 3-5 minutes, I don't know, maybe it's 15 minutes you need to do, and you set aside some time to practice mindfulness and meditate as well. You'll begin practicing some journaling, that mindfulness and meditation, and soliciting that feedback. But there's one final thing I'd highly recommend you do, and to become more self-aware and to lead towards more fulfillment in your life. As you become more self-aware, there are certain things that you can start doing, and start thinking about the system you want to build around the vision that you have of yourself, of the person that you will be. That you will be. Not that you want to be, but that you will be. What is that system that you're going to build around your vision about the person that you will be? There's a difference between who you want to be and who you will be. Who you want to be is just a thought, a dream. It's not necessarily a reality until you put it into practice. And so what is that system that you're going to build to put it into practice? What choices are you making right now that are structured around that vision? So the choices that you're making for your daily life, the choices you're making for your business, for your nonprofit, how are they structured around that vision of the person that you will be? And build that structure with those choices. And then what kind of energy are you exerting towards that vision of yourself? Because if you're not implementing anything, you're not moving in that direction, then it's never going to happen for you. So you got to put in the effort. And are you putting in enough? Are you putting in too much? I don't know. But are you putting in enough? See, a lot of people think that there should be this work-life balance thing. And it's great when you get to a certain level, but when you're starting out, it's not a reality. And the reality is, are you exerting enough energy right now towards that vision with those choices that you're making, building that system of the person, the business, the nonprofit, the entrepreneur that you will be? And finally, what are some of those behavioral characteristics that match up with your values that you have based on that vision of the person you will be? Behavioral characteristics. How are you acting right now towards that vision of the person you will be, the business you will have, the nonprofit you will have? If your behavior is matching up with that, and your energy is matching up with that, your choices are matching up with that, and you're building a structure, a system structure around it, then you will become that person you will be. I hope this has been of value to you. I'm Miles Street. I'm International Leadership and Business Coach, and I help international leaders who have been experiencing winning moments in the past, but right now you realize you need a new game plan. And that game plan will help you become more self-aware about who you will be and what kind of business or nonprofit that you want to build. Thank you for joining me today.